Namaskar, greetings friends. It is Saturday, the 26th of April 2025, and it is time for another episode of my weekly analysis. If you have been watching my weekly videos, you will know that I pick up a few stocks or indices and analyze them with a view to decipher actionable information for the coming days and weeks. I try to keep this process fairly simple and make use of only a handful of tools and indicators. If you want to know more about these tools, please take a look at some of the other videos which I will mention in the description of this video. As you know, past few weeks have seen very dramatic price action. Steep sell-off on a few days, followed by partial recovery on others. It was all triggered by the announcement of new tariff regime by President Trump on the 2nd of April, followed by reciprocal rhetoric coming out of China. But in the last week, we are beginning to see some signs that in the short term, the worst might be behind us, as I'm beginning to see some of the stocks breaking the declining trend and starting to look up. So in this episode, I'll be looking at S&P 500 index for a big picture view, followed by four stocks, two of which I can clearly see that they are breaking away from the declining trend, and two others which are still struggling but on the verge of looking back up again. And the four stocks I'll be taking a look at in this video are Alphabet, Google, PayPal, Tesla, and Apple. But before we look into the charts, a quick word of statutory disclaimer. The information being shared in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be construed as an investment advice. Individuals are encouraged to do their own research and assume full responsibility of any actions taken based on the suggestions provided. Let's go straight into the charts. The first chart we will look at is the S&P 500 index chart. And the notations on it are from my previous weekly analysis. If you see this path that I drew, the price has literally followed that. For a fresh analysis and fresh perspective, I've just got rid of all the previous notations. The first thing I would like to do is to draw a declining trend line for the recent most price from the top here up to this recent most close on Friday. It is notable to see that the price has already broken this previous high. So if I look at the price from this bottom here to showing high here, a higher low and a higher high, the recent most price movement from here to here, it is now beginning to form a rising trend. But since the price action is still within this triangle formed by the declining trend and this rising trend here, there are both possibilities. One, it might still consolidate within this triangle, which means that it might come back to visit this support area here or even this support area here. So let me draw those support areas. The way it is currently poised, it is very unlikely to come back here. So there is more chance of it coming back to revisit this, pick up some more buyers, and then penetrate through this declining trend line. If it does so, the next resistance it will face will be in this area. The probabilities are as follows. The price goes back up here and then penetrates, visits this, and then comes back here to visit this area of break here. So that is one possibility. The other possibility is that the price breaks through straight away on Monday, and that scenario will pan out something like this. Now, as far as my decision for overall sentiment of the market is, I would like to see this breaking before I start adding substantially to my stock positions. And that is simply because as long as the price remains below the declining trend line, there is always that risk of it coming back and making new lows. So from a big picture perspective, that's why I'm looking at S&P 500. If price does indeed follow this or the previous pattern, let me also draw that so that you can see both simultaneously. So whichever path it follows, if it if it breaks above this, then we ought to look at a few resistance points as well so that we can use them to take guidance on areas where there will be resistance and therefore time to either book some profits or just manage your risk exposure. So these are the resistance points that I can see. So that's all about S&P 500 for now. Let us look at the other charts. The next chart I will look at is Alphabet, Google. I would like you to follow me on the recent most price action from this point up to here. And I want to show you something quite interesting here. Path from here, this low, high, higher low, higher high. So what you see here is a double bottom pattern. The second bottom is slightly higher, which is fine, which is actually even better than having at the same level, because what it shows is that it is making a higher low. So from this point, made a high, higher low, and a higher high. It is the beginning of a new trend, which is a rising trend. So that is one good thing. The second thing I would like you to see is that the trend line, which started from this point up to here, has been broken. So it is a declining trend line. There are at least 2 points and the entire price action is below this. So this is a valid declining trend line, which was broken here. And then the neckline of the double bottom was broken here. Okay, so if I just draw that as well, this point here. So as you can see, multiple things are telling us that you could start a position on this stock, or if you're already in, you should look for opportunities to add. Just to repeat what these signs are: number one, a declining trend has been broken here, a double bottom has been formed, and the neckline has been broken here. So all these things are telling me that we should be looking for opportunities to add. Now, where are those opportunities? So for that, one, I would like to look at some of the support points in this very structure, but also look at where the potential resistances are, so that I can use that information to wait for a price to drop back before I add further, or take some profit out if you're already invested. So let me draw some areas of support and resistance first. So this is the area where the declining trend was broken. So quite an important area. This is where the neckline was broken. So that's also important. And this is exactly where the price currently is. Then look at some resistance areas. So the first resistance is not too far here. The second one here, third one here, fourth here, and finally one at the previous high. The possible path I see for price movement going forward will be something like this. Retest this support area here, go back up, take a pause here, come back to revisit this, take a pause here, come back to revisit this, next, 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 and so on and so forth. Of course, this is just a probable path. It is not exact science, but I can see this scenario developing over coming weeks for Google. So opportunities, if you're already in the stock, then opportunities for you to add at these points. And taking partial profits is never a bad idea. So might as well use the resistance points to take some partial profits or reduce your exposure to keep it within your acceptable limits of exposure for a single stock. So that is Alphabet Google for you. Overall, looking quite positive in going into the next week. The next chart we look at is PayPal. I would like you to concentrate and follow me on this price movement here, from this top to here and the current price. I would like you to see a number of things happening here. The first thing I would like to point out is the recent most price action here. So from this swing high to low here, a swing high, a swing low, and a high. The key points to note here are, after making this low here, the next low was a higher low, and the high after this low was a higher high than the previous high. Okay, so this is quite interesting. What it tells me is that the declining trend that was in place for this duration is probably coming to an end, and a new trend is beginning to form, which will be an uptrend like this. Why I say that is because of this structure here. We are at very early stages, but this seems to be forming. That is one. Second, if I draw the declining trend line from this point on, so this was the original declining trend, which was broken at this point, and more importantly, this previous swing high was broken here. Okay, so a number of things are a very positive indicator here. Number one, this structure here, which is forming a higher low and a higher high. Number two, break of this trend line here, and number three, break of the neckline here. So these are very positive indications for PayPal as well. If you are in this stock, time to start adding further, provided your risk appetite for a single stock allows that. If you're not, then you might want to consider starting a position on this. Let me now try to chart out a path, draw some resistance and support areas, and see where we can potentially add to our position or take partial profits. So let me clear these first. Not sure if this will be revisited, but let's just draw it here. In terms of resistances, the first resistance is not too far. I think these are sufficient for now. So the path I see will be something like this: price hitting the first resistance here, coming back to revisit, pick up more buyers from here, going to the next, coming back. Now this resistance becomes support, so pick up some buyers from here and like that. So if you would like to add, wait for the price to come back to these areas, and most probably, like price always does, it will try and form a channel or a trend line, and I see it forming something like this. So if you want to add, wait for price to come back to either this line or the support area here, or if you want to book some profits, wait for it to hit the next resistance area as it moves along this path. So that is PayPal for the coming days and weeks. The next chart I will take a look at is Apple. On Apple also, if you see the price from this top here, it has been making a downward trend or downward channel. If I try to draw that channel and extend it here, so a valid channel touching the tops here and the entire price action below this declining trend line. And at the bottom, I've just drawn a line which covers the entire price action. Incidentally, we get two touch points. In here, unlike the other two we looked at, the price is still within the channel, albeit it is at the top of the channel and could break anytime. But because the price is within the channel, I will not be as bullish as I am on the Google and PayPal. So this one, I will wait and watch in the coming week. My hunch is that it might stay within this channel for a little bit longer. We'll come back to revisit this area here before it goes up. So the likely path I see for this one is, there is this support here. What I see here coming is come back to this, pick up more buyers, and then penetrate this. That is when I will consider it for adding further to my position. Not yet. However, if the price breaks through this on Monday or Tuesday, also clears this line here, this previous high here, the only point when I will be sure of a bullish trend here is after it breaks this line, this previous high here. Okay, unless it does that, I will not consider adding to my Apple position. I'll keep an eye on this. If and when it breaks this previous high, then I will start adding my position. I'll follow the same principles of trying to add at supports and trying to take some profits at the resistance points like I drew in the previous charts. Okay, so because I'm going to just wait and watch on this, I'm not going to spend any longer on this chart. Last but not the least, we'll take a look at Tesla. Now, Tesla is quite interestingly poised at the moment. As you can see from the tops here, it has been making a steady declining trend. If I draw the trend line, you will see that the trend line here has been broken. What is also quite interesting is that it made a triple bottom. So if I draw it for you, you'll probably see it better. From here to this low here, a swing high, swing low, another swing high, swing low, and then this break here. So a triple bottom and break of the trend line. So this is a fairly bullish signal for me. But because of this declining trend, I would like to see the break of this neckline here before I start adding to my Tesla position. I'm currently in the red, but looking for a signal to start adding more. And I am quite certain that it is not far away. The moment it breaks this neckline here, I will start considering adding. Now, in order to look at probable path for Tesla in coming days, I have cleared other indicators just to keep it clean, only retaining this line, which is the previous swing high here. So just to reiterate, I will not start adding before the price breaches this. If it breaches here, the next resistance is at this point. Now, typically after the breach, it might not go directly to the next resistance. What will happen is after the breach, it will come back and maybe pick up more orders from this area. This particular resistance will then become support. So I would like to wait for the breach and then come back to revisit this before I add, right? And then wait for this to go and take the first resistance. So the probable path I see is something like this here. Now it might either go straight to this point or pause somewhere in between and come back to pick up orders here. So this is where I will add and then go to the next resistance, come back to wherever this point is, and then penetrate through this resistance. The other resistances on the way will be here, next one here, and finally the previous all-time high, previous highs. So just to reiterate, whilst I see a nice triple bottom here and the price very strongly close to the neckline, I will wait on this for the neckline to be breached before I do anything. So this is another one, wait and watch, even though it is making pretty good structure and it has broken the trend line that I drew for you previously, which is here. Yeah, so that is Tesla. And with that, I come to the end of charts. With that, I conclude my analysis for this week. Hope you find it useful. If you like the contents of this channel, please like and subscribe and also share with other people who might find it useful. Thank you. Namaskar. Have a good week ahead.